When did you start kickboxing?
Last week. I used to do it when I was a teenager. For like
Oh, okay.
6 years, I was a black belt in Shotokan, and we
That's
used to do
badass.
kickboxing. So, trying to get back into it, but it's really expensive. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing it, and just go to a regular gym. But man, the MMA club that I've been going to is really expensive, and I don't know if I can hack it.
That's the thing with those classes, because I used to take karate when I was in college, and the combination of just not having the time and
Yeah.
it being expensive,
Well,
and what sucks is I made it all the way to red belt
oh yeah.
and then stopped doing it. I've wanted to get back into it, but it's one of those things that, like in a perfect world, if I had the time,
Yeah.
I would do it, but right now I just don't.
Well, I got lots of time now. I just don't have the money.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
that I'm
that's
paying for Casa de Funktastic here.
yeah, the man cave.
Yeah, the man cave. Let me make sure all of our levels are good before we start. I gotta turn that up. Then I
I'll
gotta
just type in
turn this up.
Link's Awakening.
Yeah, make sure you put that in there. Because I
That's what I'm
haven't seen
doing
a
now.
trailer. I had no idea till you told me. I have not been on social media
I
all
mean,
day.
I literally just saw it, like right before. Like I was watching the trailer when you texted me.
Yeah, because
Right.
I've been at work all day. I left work, came home, grabbed my stuff, went to class, and then got home, took a shower, and then sat down and do this. So I haven't looked at anything
Yeah,
today.
I know how that is. How long are your classes usually?
45 minutes. But the
Oh,
cool
okay.
thing is like when you at the gym that I go to, I mean, you can stay and go all day if you want. There's
Oh,
no
that's
like
good.
set times you have to go. It's pretty much open to whenever you want to go. It's just you gotta sell a kidney to keep going there.
Yeah. All right, I put the link in there so you
All
can
right.
take a look at it.
All right, the stream's
It's just
good.
for my gym.
Our
Okay.
bit rate's pretty high, so I restarted my router the other night, so everything is going tip top.
Hopefully mine doesn't crap out because, like I said, I've only been home for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So let's see. That's in there. Um, yeah, I'll lead off with Link's Awakening, and then we can just
Okay.
flip back and forth.
Sounds good to me. Well, I'm good to go if you are.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Do you like the show and you want to help support us? Do you want us to stay ad-free? Do you want extra episodes every month? Well, then head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro and become a Patreon supporter of this very show. Greetings, programs. We're a day late, but not a dollar short here at the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
So, Derek, how has your week been, my friend?
Yeah, pretty uneventful. Didn't really do much. It's funny because I was actually going to use that exact quote that you did.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
a day late, but not a dollar short. So great minds think alike.
That's awesome.
No, so as we record this, I just got back home from Las Vegas.
Yeah. Did you get any hookers? Hookers and blow?
So I will say this, only in Vegas can you be on one block and you get asked to go to a strip club, and then you go to the following block and you're asked to repent for your sins.
Yeah, that's Vegas.
Yeah. But no, it was so I went for this conference called the National Sports Forum. It's basically teams from minor league and major league teams get together, have breakout sessions, and discuss ideas from, ticket sales to promotions, sponsorship, various things like that.
That's cool.
So I left. Funny note, I went out the night before my flight, and because my friends who are in a band here did a show downtown, so I went to support them and whatnot. Got home really late, slept through all my alarms, and almost missed my flight.
That's my biggest fear when I fly anywhere.
I was flipping the hell out
Oh, I'm sure.
when that happened. Because I set 4 alarms and I slept through all of them.
Oh my God.
I know. I was in such a panic. But luckily when I got to the airport, there was no one in the security line.
Oh, that's
so
good.
I was able to make it, with still some time to spare. But overall, trip was great. I did post some photos on my Facebook and my Instagram, so got to do a lot of cool things. Went to a show, saw the Golden Knights, their hockey team, which was badass. Conference was good. Ate a lot of very unhealthy food. So all in all, it was a really, really good trip.
Did you do any gambling?
I did not do any gambling. That's the one thing I didn't do because my track record with gambling is not good, and I didn't want to lose money.
Yeah, that's the thing is like there's no real point for me to go to Vegas because I live, in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, which is right next to Biloxi, Mississippi, which is we got casinos like every 10 feet. So
yeah.
And I don't go gambling here, so why would I go off somewhere to gamble? Like that's just defeats the purpose of a vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, and I wanted to say that John Jekyll is in the chat room tonight. Mixmaster. He's asked me the other night if we usually do a show other than Tuesday nights because he usually has like some kind of work thing on Tuesday nights. So I told him we're doing it Wednesday this week, and he actually got to join us tonight in the chat room. So welcome.
Sweet. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining. And my week's been pretty uneventful too. We talked about it before the show, but I've been taking kickboxing classes again. I was in martial arts when I was a teenager, did a lot of kickboxing, Shotokan, karate, stuff like that, grappling, back when MMA was still in its infancy. And I used to love it, and I am in love with kickboxing class, but good Lord, it's expensive.
At this rate, you're going to have to add on all your business cards, professional badass.
That's right. I'm going to do that. Like J Funktastic professional badass.
That's the dream, my friend.
But if you hear my stomach rumbling, it's because I haven't eaten yet. I had just enough time to get home, take a shower, and I haven't had a chance to eat yet. So my stomach's kind of rumbling right now. So if you hear that a weird noise, that's what it is.
No, I totally understand. I've had one meal today because I've just been. I will say this: I've learned that I get very fidgety on airplanes, especially with long flights.
Mm-hmm.
Because flying from Vegas to Atlanta was like 3 hours. And by the end of it, I'm just, just itching to get off the plane.
Try being even 6'3" on a plane these days.
But yeah, even from Atlanta to Pensacola, I was getting really fidgety, and that's like a 45-minute flight.
Yeah.
But
John says, after hearing you guys talk about Legend of the Mystical Ninja, he's still a few episodes behind. But he said he's going to get it for his Wii U and try it out. He still has rocking a Wii U. That's awesome.
Love it.
But
That's
Legend
awesome.
of the Mystical Ninja is one of my favorite SNES games, so I think you're going to really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good. And that's the cool thing about podcasting. You can just binge them if you want.
Absolutely.
So you should go through the whole catalog.
Other than the news segments, I mean, this podcast is pretty evergreen. I mean, you can go back and listen to any one of them you want.
Yeah, for sure.
But speaking of news, let's go ahead and move into the news tonight, shall we?
Let's do it.
Big news tonight. Oh, boy.
Okay, so I got to give a shout out to Tyler Watson for this because right before I called Jason to do this show, I was on Facebook and I simply saw the headline, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake, and I said, "What? Where? How have I not known about this?" But there was a Nintendo Direct today, and this comes to us from IGN.com. The beloved Game Boy game is coming to the Switch. Nintendo has announced a full remake for the Game Boy Classic, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, for the Nintendo Switch. And it is planned for a 2019 release.
How is that? They've obviously been working on it.
Well, they had said a few weeks ago, or it might have been even more recent than that, that there were games they were working on that they haven't announced yet, and this clearly is one of them. But if you can see the screen caps on the article,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it has a link to the trailer. It looks very much like Link Between Worlds for the 3DS, and I think that's the perfect style to go with this. I'm so amped for this. Like, I said this when I reviewed this game a while back. It's one of, if not the most underrated Zelda game in the entire franchise.
I'm looking at some of the screen caps now. This looks so awesome.
Oh, and the trailer looks so good. You should definitely check it out whenever we're done.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even a couple of screen caps from it. Like Link looks, all like badass and animated and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh, but no,
so good.
It doesn't give an actual release date yet, but the fact that we're getting it this year is fantastic, and this will be a day one purchase for me. I cannot wait to play this.
I'm guessing this is probably going to be a holiday release.
That would be my guess. But either way, it's going to be good, and it's a nice little surprise. And there are other things from the Direct as well. But the big thing was the Link's Awakening remake.
I can't wait for that. Oh my God, it's such good news.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
But on our next story, this comes from NintendoLife.com. Spotify users can now enjoy a new batch of Capcom tracks following a huge music dump. Fans of chiptune and video game music in general have a whole bunch of freshly released tracks to enjoy, thanks to Capcom dropping a boatload of albums on Spotify. They range from the classic NES Mega Man through PS1 era Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Phoenix Wright, Devil May Cry, EX Troopers, and the list goes on. So are you a Spotify listener?
I am, actually. I'm a big Spotify fan, and this is really cool. And it's something that, I wish other game publishers would do. Because I remember back in the days of LimeWire and Napster and whatnot, one of the big things that I tried to do was find video game soundtracks. And I remember back in the days of burning CDs, I had this video game like anthology that I made. Like I had one disc with NES music, another with SNES music, N64 and so on and so forth. So I think it's really cool that Capcom did this. And I wish other companies would do the same.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't usually listen to Spotify too much. I'm more of a Amazon Prime listener. Mm-hmm. But I may have to jump over to Spotify and just listen to some chiptunes.
You should know Spotify has a lot. Like they don't have every single song in existence, but they've got a lot.
Well, that's why I kind of jump back and forth between like Amazon Music and Spotify and stuff like that. Because between like 2 or 3 music services, you pretty much can get everything. But
yeah,
that's what kind of sucks about it. Because some of them have stuff I like, some of them have other stuff I like. So I just wish it was all in one platform.
Well, and you can say the same about streaming video too. Netflix has things that Hulu doesn't. Amazon Prime has things that the others don't have, so it's the same situation.
Yeah.
Our next story also comes to us from NintendoLife.com. Combined sales of SNES Mini and NES Mini likely to surpass lifetime Wii U sales.
That's crazy.
God, that's so unfortunate.
Look at this graph at how many units the Wii sold. Over 100 million units of the Wii.
It's the ultimate casual gamer's console.
I mean, the original NES only sold like 63? Yeah, somewhere around 63 million. And it seemed like everybody had one. And the Wii U almost doubled that.
Side note, John says that he still has a ton of CDs that he made from LimeWire.
Oh yeah, me too. I still have mine.
Yeah, I've got some still at my parents' house.
I killed at least 2 or 3 computers with LimeWire.
Oh man, but yeah, there's a graphic on this article that basically shows the lifetime hardware sales of Nintendo consoles as of December 31st, 2018.
Wow.
The amount of Wii consoles is staggering. And the thing that's almost as crazy is that you can see the decline from the NES down to the GameCube.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea it was like that.
I didn't either.
I could have swore that the N64 sold more than that.
I thought the SNES sold as many units as the NES. Like,
Yeah,
that was
same.
a popular console.
I mean, I knew the GameCube was kind of the downfall of Nintendo when they went through their really rough patch, but...
Well, I kind of think maybe in the SNES era, N64 era, like the early to late 90s, you know, from like 93 to probably 98, you had a lot of competition too popping up because you had, you know, not only the Sega Genesis, but you also had PlayStation 1, the TurboGrafx 16, then you had like the Jaguar and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of a tough era to be in, I guess. Because, I mean, in the 80s, the NES was top dog.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Atari was on its way out at that point.
Yeah.
But the thing that stands out to me as far as the verbiage of this article goes, it says here it might seem unfair to combine the sales of the two retro-powered systems, but if you think about it, that did not have nearly the same level of marketing as the Wii U.
I know.
Because the Wii U had a big midnight launch. It had, you know, some online capabilities. The thing with the Wii U, though, is that it didn't have that big game to go with it.
Yeah.
At launch. You know, with the Switch, you had Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
With the Wii U, you had New Super Mario Brothers U. And those are fun games, but that's not a launch title.
Well, I still think the Switch has a lot of life left in it, too. I mean, it's
for sure.
Probably got another, I'd say 4 to 5 years. I mean, and then plus they're probably going to do an upgrade to it in the next year or so. So I think Switch sales are probably going to match at least the Super Nintendo by the time everything's said and done.
Yeah, because it's almost even with the N64 right now.
Yeah. So you got to think they're probably going to sell at least another 30 to 40 million consoles by the time it's over and done with, I would think.
And I would love for it to match or even surpass the Wii. I don't know if that's going to happen. But
I don't think that's ever going to happen again.
Yeah. That was just a pure enigma. But like I said, the Wii was the ultimate casual gamers console because you had all the party games.
Yeah. Well, I think the Wii made enough money for Nintendo where they could bomb at least another 10 consoles.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's absolutely insane.
But for our last story, this comes from the New York Times. Gerald A. Lawson, a pioneer in video games, dies at 70. Let me get this out of the way here. Gerald A. Lawson, a largely self-taught engineer who became a pioneer in electronic video entertainment, creating the first home video game system with interchangeable game cartridges, died on Saturday at his home in Mountain View, California. He was 70, and he lived in Santa Clara. The cause was complications of diabetes. Let's see, it was Mr. Lawson who made it first possible to play a variety of video games at home. In the mid-70s, he was director of engineering and marketing for the newly formed video game division of Fairchild Semiconductor, and it was under his direction that the division brought to market in 1976 the Fairchild Channel F, a home console that allowed users to play different games contained on removable cartridges. Until then, home video game systems could only play games that were built into the machines, like Pong machines. Did you ever see any Pong machines? They used to be all over the place in thrift stores back in the 90s. But he was absolutely a pioneer. Alan Alcorn, a creator of the granddaddy of video games, Pong, said in an interview with the San Jose Mercury News in March, "When you do something for the first time, there is nothing to copy." Let's see. He was born in Brooklyn in 1940. I mean, this dude basically like set the stage for all home video consoles back in the 70s. So this dude kind of left quite a legacy.
Oh, for sure. And it's something that, you know, is unthinkable now, is not having an individual game or a cartridge, whatever the case may be. I had no idea. Like the name sounded familiar, but I had no idea that he was that influential in the history of video games.
Yeah, I didn't either. He wasn't a fan of video games nowadays. He had a, let's see, where was this interview? He said in a 2009 interview, I don't play video games that often. I really don't. First of all, most of the games that are out now, I'm appalled by them. Most are concerned with shooting somebody and killing somebody. To me, a game should be something like a skill you should develop. If you play this game, you walk away with something of value.
I mean, that's not a terrible point to make.
Yeah. Because when you think of video games, like I think of stuff like Tetris and things like that. Like, never really been a big fan of shooters and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, like I love Resident Evil and stuff like that. But just to kind of kick back and just play like Tetris or Dr. Mario and stuff like that, like I'm always going to gravitate more towards those kind of games.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that.
But let's go ahead and move into. Let me pull it up here. This month in video game history. In February of 1982, Atari releases the early survival horror game Haunted House. Did you ever play Haunted House on an Atari 2600?
I did not. The name sounds vaguely familiar, though.
Yeah, I used to have this game when I was a kid. The cover art always kind of creeped me out.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy. You just got like a pair of eyes floating there and a spider next to it.
Let's see. John asked us if we listen to any VGM podcasts. Do you know what? I don't know what VGM podcast is.
Video game podcast.
Oh, yeah. I like listening to Boop, and I used to listen to a bunch of them back in the day, but a lot of the ones that I used to listen to aren't around anymore.
The only one that I still somewhat listen to is Nintendo Voice Chat by IGN.
Yeah,
but they had a lot of turnover as far as their hosts go, and it's not as good as it used to be. I still check it out. Like if the topic is interesting, I'll listen to it, but I'm not like a regular listener of it.
I still listen to The Instance, even though I really haven't played WoW in a long time. I still like to listen to the Instance because I just like that show. But I mean, if you kind of like just general podcast about video games, Boop is really good.
He says you guys are my favorite video game, mostly talking podcast.
Aw, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words.
But the next one's all you.
Let's see. In February 20th of 1987, Konami releases a little-known game called Contra.
One of the few games I actually streamed and actually beat. All the other games I never finished.
I will say it still has some of my favorite cover art from any video game.
I still say Contra's in my top in my top favorite NES games.
If I were to ever, achieve the dream of being a filmmaker, I would make a Contra movie.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
It would be so fun. Just watch every 80s action film and throw elements of it into that.
Who would you cast? Because you would have to have two guys. I don't remember their names, though. What were their names in the game? Let me look that up real quick.
Bill and Lance.
Yeah, Bill and Lance. Bill is the blonde-haired commando with the white tank top and blue bandana, and Lance is the shirtless, dark-haired commando in the red bandana. Ooh.
Well, let's see. If he's shirtless, it would obviously have to be Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. That's a good question.
I mean, we got to put The Rock in there. I mean, he's in everything.
Here's what I would do. I would cast John Cena as Bill, and Lance would be The Rock.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. We're in sync tonight, is what we're doing.
Yeah, we are. We are. No, and it would be so over the top. It would be amazing.
When I get in Hollywood to make movies, or if you get there, whoever gets there first, we're gonna buy the rights to Contra and make a movie. Moving on, February 12th of 1987. 1987. Oh, the 1988's in there too. I thought that was a big year, but I didn't see the 1988 there. And February 12th, 1987, Infocom releases Bureaucracy from author Douglas Adams. If you don't know who that is, he did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But I have never heard of Bureaucracy, the video game.
I haven't either. Looks like it says an interactive fiction video game released in 1987. The player is challenged to confront a long and complicated series of bureaucratic hurdles resulting from a recent change of address. It's an interesting concept for a game.
Oh,
It says
and
mail isn't being delivered, bank accounts are inaccessible, and nothing is as it should be.
that sounds not fun.
Sounds like a game you would play at school.
Yeah. But John says he hasn't played Contra in over 20 years, and why hasn't Nintendo put it on Wii or Wii U Shop channel? I'm ready for them to put it on the Nintendo Switch Online. You'd think that would be like one of the first orders of business.
Yeah, we won't get into the shop channel right now.
Drink, Wally.
Yeah. Let's see. February 10th, 1988, Enix releases Dragon Quest III.
Oh, yeah?
Which is also the sequel to Dragon Quest 1 and 2.
Wow.
You didn't know that.
Would have never guessed that. Wow. Also in February of 1988, LJN releases Town and Country Surf Designs Wood and Water Rage, a skateboarding and surfing game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I used to love TNC Surf Designs when I was a kid, but man, that game does not hold up at all.
I love the art for that game.
Yeah. I don't know why I found that game so fun when I was a kid, but playing it now is like hitting yourself in the face with a hammer.
I wonder if this is where Rare got the inspiration for Funky Kong from Donkey Kong Country.
I don't know. I used to hate the surfing part, though. The surfing part was crap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I always liked the skateboarding
never heard of that
part.
Game before.
Oh, I love that game. It was one of the few good games I thought was put out by LJN, but then like the older I got, the more I realized it sucked.
Yeah. Let's see. Also in February of 1988, Capcom releases Gunsmoke, a vertical scrolling shooter arcade game. This Wild West themed game was designed by, I'm not even going to try and say the name.
Yoshiki Okamoto.
There you go. Gunsmoke centers on a character named Billy Bob in the NES version, a bounty hunter who is after vicious criminals of the Wild West.
I used to have this for the NES when I was a kid, but I traded it for something, and I don't remember. I probably traded it for TNC Surf Designs. But Gunsmoke was a great game, and it's kind of hard to find these days. It's actually kind of expensive to get your hands on a copy of it, a good copy.
I had no idea this was a game.
It's really good. At least I remember it being really good.
Interesting.
But,
yeah, it was also available for PS2, PS1, and the Xbox.
Wow, I did not know that.
Interesting.
It's a good game. Also in February of 1993, Nintendo releases Star Fox for the Super NES, the first game to use the new Super FX chip.
Very groundbreaking game for the Super Nintendo with the graphics, and that game is so hard, but it's really fun. And it started one of the most underrated franchises in Nintendo, in my opinion.
I used to think that game looked so good when I was a kid, but you go back and play it now, and it's like, ugh.
Do you remember that cartoon Reboot? It was from like the early to mid 90s. It was like in the early days of when CG animation, like that, almost like the Pixar look, was becoming popular.
I don't remember that.
It looks so bad now, and that's what makes me think of Star Fox. But still, one of my favorite games for the Super Nintendo. And finally, also in February of 93, Lucasfilm releases Star Wars X-Wing, a space simulation video game, the first of the X-Wing combat flight simulator game series for DOS, Macintosh, Windows, and Linux.
I used to have this for my old Hewlett Packard back in the day. I even had me a really good flight stick that I used to play it with. I used to have this. I had TIE Fighter and Rebel Assault. And I used to love playing these games.
This was one of the games that I used to watch my uncle play after school as a kid.
Yeah.
It was this one, TIE Fighter and Dark Forces.
Oh, I had Dark Forces too.
Were the Star Wars games that I would watch.
Oh, they're so good.
So no, I remember this game very well.
They probably look awful now, but oh well.
We still have the nostalgia.
Yes, we do. But tonight, Derek is going to review a game that I tried to review, but I just couldn't do it, so it fell on Derek's shoulders. So tonight, we're going to be talking about...
Don't you just love that music?
Nope, I don't.
So, how many episodes are we on with this show now?
We are on 121 right now.
So 121 episodes. We've done a lot of reviews.
Mm-hmm.
We've reviewed a lot of games. We've had some great reviews, and we've reviewed a lot of great games. This is not one of those.
Boy.
So, call me crazy, but this game was released on the Switch Online shop. And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. And the game I'm talking about is the legendary, or I guess infamous is what I should say.
Yeah.
Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It is an action role-playing video game with platforming elements. That's a very key phrase to remember for this review, which is the second installment in the Legend of Zelda series. It was developed and published by Nintendo for the Family Computer Disk System on January 14th, 1987, less than a year after the original Zelda was released and 7 months before North America saw the release of the first Zelda title. It's still crazy to think about back then, just the gap between games that would be released in Japan before they would make it over here. So, where to start with this game? I will say it's not as just completely terrible as I remember it, because I have very vague memory of playing this game as a kid. You know, I remember, I've told the story countless times of how I was introduced to the original Legend of Zelda, fell in love with it, and just couldn't get enough of it. And that was what introduced me into my love of Zelda. And I remember playing Zelda 2 briefly, but it's very different than the original Zelda because it looks different, it feels different. You know, the original Zelda has that top-down view.
Yeah.
You go into your dungeons, you solve puzzles and things like that. And that element still exists to a point, but they made it a side-scrolling platformer, which, had this been its own standalone thing, I don't think it would have gotten nearly the flack that it did. But I think when you just drastically change something that worked, it was just a mistake.
That was always my biggest gripe with this game, was it's not meant to be a side-scroller.
No.
If they would have, I wouldn't have minded the overworld aspect of it, you know, going the overworld, going from town to town and things like that. If they would have just kept it top down going into the dungeons, I think I would have liked it a lot better. But I still hate going into town, having to like go in the buildings and talk to people. Like you're trying to like talk to somebody and they just keep walking away from you. And I'm just, there's nothing about this game I like. Nothing.
That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
And there are issues I have, even because I try to look at it objectively. Even with, if you take the Zelda aspect out of it, I still have issues with the gameplay. For one, when you're trying to fight enemies, your reach with your sword is virtually non-existent. You have to basically be right next to whatever enemy you're fighting, unless you have full health and you can shoot the energy beam from your sword.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you have to be right next to whatever enemy it is you're fighting.
And a lot of the enemies are just ridiculously difficult to kill.
Yeah, like the Armus Knights are frustratingly hard. I can't tell you how many times I died in the first temple.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I only made it to the second one. Like that's how long it took me to beat the first one. Like once I really got a handle on it and could compensate for it, then it was okay. But let's see, where's the story of this thing? All right, so here's the plot. Several years after the events of The Legend of Zelda, the now 16-year-old Link notices a strange mark on the back of his left hand, exactly like the crest of Hyrule. He seeks out Impa, who takes him to the North Castle, where a door has been magically sealed for generations. Impa places the back of Link's left hand on the door, and it opens, revealing a sleeping maiden, who it turns out is Zelda, but not the Zelda from the first game. She is the Princess of Hyrule from long ago. She's basically the first Zelda. Zelda's brother tried to force her into telling their recently deceased father's secrets concerning the Triforce. She refused, and through a botched spell, she was put to sleep. So your objective is to go to 6 different temples and place these crystals in statues. And then from there, you go basically to the Great Palace, where you get the Triforce of Courage. This game actually does introduce a couple of reoccurring things that happen later on in the franchise. Like it introduces actually one of my favorite elements from the entire franchise, and that's Link's doppelganger, Dark Link. And that was one of the cooler parts of Ocarina of Time, when you're in the water temple and you're in that white room with the tree in the middle, and you turn around and you can kind of see the vague shadow of Dark Link, and then you have to fight him.
Yeah.
Like that element was cool, and it introduces...
I never got that far.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't either, but I knew that was where he was introduced. Basically what you do is there's an overworld, like you said before, and you have to go to different towns and different temples, and it's like a Zelda game in that aspect, as you explore, you puzzle solve, and things like that. But I'm not gonna lie, the side-scrolling aspect really kind of takes me out of the game. Like
I really did try to play this like a year ago so I could review it, but I hated it so much. Like I didn't get very far into it. I played it for maybe 3 or 4 hours, and I was just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
It really doesn't feel like a Zelda game.
At all. It doesn't feel like Zelda at all to me.
And that's a shame, because there are elements of the game that are not bad. Like, I don't hate the story. I don't like that the Zelda is not the same one from the first game. Like, if it were just a direct sequel and say that Zelda is put to sleep, and you take out like the brother backstory, like you could say she was put to sleep by a mysterious force, and that turns out to be Link's doppelganger.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been fine. But I think having the original, or in quotations, the original Zelda was kind of pointless. So even there are elements of the story I like, but that I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, other than that, I mean, there's not really a ton of positive things I can say about the game. I'll be honest, I really, really did try. I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do it because I know we haven't reviewed this game yet. I will be a team player. I will take one for the team, but and I wanted to like it. I really did. I wanted to give it a shot, but it just does not even feel like a Zelda game.
Yeah. It says, for much of the series' 3-decade history, the game served as the only technical sequel to the original title, as all other entries in the series were either prequels or occurred in an alternative reality, according to the official Zelda timeline. This eventually changed with the release of The Legend Breath of the Wild, which serves as the latest chapter in the overall continuity. And it says this game was a critical and financial success, introduced elements such as Link's magic meter and the Dark Link character that would become commonplace. Although the role-playing elements such as experience points and the platform-style side-scrolling and limited lives have not been used since in canonical games.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. And there are, as far as the side-scrolling aspect goes, there is one more thing I wanted to throw in there. It has been used since then because there are elements of Link's Awakening when you're in dungeons.
But I'm sure they're done much better.
Well, and it's not the focal point of the gameplay. Like, for the most part, it's a very traditional playing Zelda with the top-down view.
Yeah.
When you go, like, in a basement in the dungeon, it turns to the side-scrolling aspect of it. But you do it for, like, maybe 2 or 3 screens.
Yeah.
And then
that I don't mind at all.
You climb up the steps, and then when you're back in the dungeon, it's back to your traditional view. Like that. That to me was a good way to use that element.
Yeah,
it's in small doses, and that aspect was fine. It actually says here the side-scrolling gameplay and experience system are similar to features of the Castlevania series, which, from a look standpoint, I can get that, but I thought Castlevania handled that much better.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So, I mean, other than that, there's really not... I know it's a short review, but there's not really a ton that I can say about this game. I
have nothing good to say about it at all.
I mean, on one side, I'll give Nintendo the credit for trying something different, but I think it also taught them the lesson that Zelda is not Mario.
Yep.
And if you notice, they have not gone back to this formula since.
I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to capture what they had with Mario because, Shigeru Miyamoto, who originally created it, wanted to make it different than the original Zelda. And I don't even think he ended up directing it, did he? Let me see.
He was a producer.
Was directed by Tadashi Sugiyama, or Sugiyan, for whom it was his first project at Nintendo. Yeesh.
And also, Koji Kondo did not do the music, which explains a lot because the music is not good.
I listened to some of the music on YouTube to capture, and I was just like,
the only song from this game that I like is the temple theme.
Yeah. I was actually going to use that one, but I was like, nah, I'll go ahead and use the title screen music.
For Smash Brothers, they actually have an orchestrated version of that song, and it's actually very good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. The crazy thing is this game actually got good reviews, which is let's see, IGN gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Nintendo Power, 72 out of 100. Play gave it a 91 out of 100. Famitsu gave it 36 out of 40. So it's... I don't get it.
Nintendo Power gave it Game of the Year in 1988.
I want to see what other games came out in 1988.
A lot of games came out in 88.
In 1988. Let's see. Mario Brothers 2.
Mm-hmm.
Double Dragon 2. Mario Brothers 3. Let's see.
No, Mario Brothers 3 didn't come out till 90.
Why is it saying 88 here?
I don't know. That's weird.
Oh, it was released in Japan in 88.
Oh,
it came out in North America in 90.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, Altered Beast is that old?
Oh, yeah. I think that was actually one of the first pack-in games for the Sega Genesis when it came out.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that was the pack-in game before they came up with Sonic.
Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't know what else I can say about this game other than...
What do you give it?
What do I give it?
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10... I'd give this game... Well, I always have to give at least a 1 for effort. I'd give it probably, at max, a 4.
That's about where I would land.
I've played much worse games, but it's one that, you don't really hear Nintendo or anyone else talk about.
Yeah.
And I think rightfully so. Then this is, I teased this earlier. This is how I would sum up this game. Zelda 2 is the Final Fantasy of the Zelda franchise.
Oh, you're gonna make some people mad with that.
I don't think John's very happy with me giving it that, because he actually says he likes Zelda 2, which, I mean, I'm not knocking anybody if you like the game.
Here's the thing. I like having it in my collection because I have both of the gold cartridges for Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2. But I can guarantee you, I'm not going to be touching Zelda 2 anytime soon.
Yeah. And side note for anybody who's listening, I'm just joking about Final Fantasy. I just like to have fun with it.
We're going to review one of these days.
I'm debating breaking out a Final Fantasy joke at our panel just to see if I get booed.
We should get Final Fantasy for NES and see how that holds up.
Yeah, we should. It might be on the NES Classic.
Maybe. I think it is. I don't remember.
One of them's on there.
But that brings us to the end of the show, unless you have any other bashing you want to do of Zelda 2 before we leave tonight.
No, I think I'm good.
All right. But we do want to remind everybody that we do have our live show we're going to be doing at Pensacon next Sunday, February 24th at 4 p.m. in the Grand Hotel Room A. We're going to be doing our live Nerd Cave Retro. We've got our official fact checker, Mr. Wally Phelps, is going to be joining us. And earlier that day, we're going to be doing the Defending Bad Movies panel. That same day, Sunday, February 24th at 1:30 p.m. in the Grand Hotel Room B.
Yeah, both. Wally will be joining us for the Nerd Cave Retro panel. He'll also be on the Defending Bad Movies panel. That I am super excited to do. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be fun. And
for those that can't make it, I will be recording that panel for the Derek Diamond Experience. So you'll get, if you listen to both shows, you'll get 2 Pensacon episodes in 1 week.
Let's see. John also said something about Final Fantasy. He said Final Fantasy 3 for Super Nintendo would be a good game to review if you did one. I was actually thinking about that.
Yeah. No, at some point soon, I think we need to do it. We've hated on them for long enough. I think we've got to show them some love.
I think we have to. But that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Derek, anything you want to throw out there before we leave tonight?
No, just be sure to check out the Derek Diamond Experience podcast. New episodes are available every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher Radio. And you can follow the show on social media at D Diamond Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here for tonight. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Oops. I shouldn't do that. There we go. If you would like to email us, you can email us at nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. We are at nerdcaveretro.com. We're on Instagram and Twitter at nerdcaveretro, and individually at jfunktastic and at Derek_Diamond. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdcaveretro. Go throw us a couple of bucks a month over on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro, and we get back up to that $50 mark, we'll be doing extra episodes every month, and you want that. And also, before we go, please leave us a review wherever you listen to the show, whatever platform you listen to. If they let you leave a review, please leave one. So, Derek, tell everybody what it's all about.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
Wow.
Wow.
Monkey.
All right, and then we can call that a show.
That was fun.
And John, thank you very much for joining us in the chat room tonight, and everybody else that was watching that didn't say anything, but thank you for joining us anyway.
Absolutely.
And we will see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.